Turkeys being pardoned today go by the names of Gobble and Waddle. When I first saw their pictures, I thought we should send them, I shouldn't say this. I was gonna call them Chuck and Nancy. But then I realized I wouldn't be pardoning them. I would never pardon those two people. I wouldn't pardon them. I wouldn't care what Melania told me. Darling, I think it would be a nice thing to do. I won't do it, darling.
Says the guy who has a permanent waddle. Okay, that's you. And I don't really mind that he's joking about Chuck, Nancy, whatever. Out of Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and Trump, only one of them is a convicted felon who would need to be pardoned. It's that part. So that was Trump making the most basic presidential task and deciding to rail against the opponent. He wasn't done making light of serious topics. Here's more from his speech.
But instead of pardon, some of my more enthusiastic staffers were already drafting the paperwork to ship Gobble and Waddle straight to the terrorist confinement center in El Salvador. And even those birds don't want to be there. You know what I mean? It was a tough. I'd like to thank the president of that country. They do a rather efficient job.
This is your president. Look at your life, America. It's very funny to joke about CCOT, huh? Remember what went down there? We've covered it. Let's take a quick look at what people have experienced at CCOT. Venezuelans described being beaten, sexually assaulted, told to commit suicide during El Salvador detention. And this is what he's joking about. Viviana, I can take a joke. Perhaps I've made some that are in poor taste before. In fact, listen, not perhaps, I have, okay? I'll give you that disclaimer. They fall flat. I try to be self-deprecating though. But this guy, knowing what has gone down at CCOT, what none of us, some of the things I couldn't listen to and I had to force myself to listen to because they're real. And human beings are being mistreated there in the most inhumane ways. There's no excuse for joking about this. What say you?
I mean, there were claims that the United States didn't know what was going on in concentration camps during the Holocaust, but I suspect many did, and I suspect there were jokes then too. And it's pretty despicable. Sadly, industrialized agriculture is like the CCOT for turkeys. So they'd be going from one CCOT to the next, but it's absolutely abhorrent to even make a joke about that. And he's congratulating this monster president in El Salvador. It's just, shameful. For me, I gotta just say this too. Anytime he sort of mentions Melania as if they have this really like beautiful relationship where he leans on her as this like bleeding heart, kind woman. I have never seen this woman soft in my life. Like she's not saying, don't do that. Oh.
This is the woman that modeled the. Yeah, I don't really care, do you? As children were in cages. Remember the jacket Melania
me a break,
had?
She said, give me a break.
Yeah. It's stunning to me. And look, before we move on to another story, we should tell you that he went on another rant about just how healthy a diet these turkeys were on. Listen to this nonsense.
These are two of the largest turkeys ever presented to an American president, over 50 pounds each. It's the largest we've ever had. And those are big turkeys. Are they as good as the normal sized turkey? Better or as good? Do they tend to be a little fatty maybe? No, he said no, he knows the turkey business. Anyway, despite their size, Secretary Kennedy has formally certified that these are the first ever Maha turkeys. I don't know if I agree with that. These are Maha. In other words, they could be fat, but they're still Maha. They've been fattened on a steady diet of grass, beef, to allow the smoothies and all of the other things that they've been eating for this occasion. This was a really big occasion, but they've eaten every fattening food that you can eat. We wanted to really make them special, and they really are. They're like record-setting. I've never seen a turkey that big before.
And there's a big turkey behind the microphone there. So he's ranting and raving about smoothies and Kobe beef while Americans are starving, while kids in Gaza are starving. I mean, this guy.